All right, so today we are celebrating the 55th anniversary of Ralph Page's musical career. So you've been in the game longer than I've even been born, but hey, you can teach me some stuff. But yeah, I'm just we're going to tell the listeners, about your life, your musical career. So we're going to take a trip down memory lane all the way back when to where it first started. So tell us, where were you born and raised?
Born originally in Cleveland, Ohio. Moved to a little town out of Cleveland called Lorain, Ohio. Studied music there for about 6 years, private music school, which taught me percussion. And I got into a little bit of writing and stuff back then. And then ventured out into California, Las Vegas area.
Okay, on the West Coast. I
West
haven't been over there.
Coast. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so tell us about your first time playing music. When was that? Who got you into playing music?
First started to do music when I was 10 years old. I was working shining shoes on the streets with a lot of the people of the night, and was admiring the stuff that they was doing and the way and style that they were living. I worked for this guy who called himself my godfather. Had a record shop, Max House of Music,
Oh, cool.
and he used to ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I was like, I want to be like these guys out here on the street.
On the streets.
Yeah, fancy clothes and lots of women and stuff like that. And he was like, nah, that's not what you're going to be if you continue to shine shoes here in my record shop. You need to start studying music, learning music, do something that's going to be positive in your life.
Mm.
So it wasn't long after that a gentleman came in. His name, Wizenhart, is what I remember. And he was the road manager for an artist that was out then, James Brown.
Oh, yeah, we know who that is.
Oh, yeah, big.
Okay.
So he wanted to sell tickets for a concert that James Brown was bringing into town out of the record shop. And the guy that owned it said that he wouldn't allow him to sell the tickets unless this young kid, which was myself, that he would be able to spend some time with Mr. Brown and just spend the day with him and just get a better influence than what he had.
Mm.
And so that took place. I was able to stay around with him the whole day, did the show, stayed at the show with him and everything all the way to the end. And it was the highlight of my life of what started me, my passion and love for music.
Oh, wow, wow. So I think that's an even trade. That's a good trade right
Oh, yeah,
there.
absolutely.
That's a blessing. So tell us, when was the first time you felt you started falling in love with music?
Uh, I started falling in love once I started to record or play live with different musicians and stuff. We were doing shows. It was a band of guys that was around my age and stuff. They were a young band, like pretty much like the Jackson was.
Okay.
The Jacksons back in the day, and a band called Techniques, Fabulous Techniques.
Mm.
And they were all really good friends of mine, family and stuff, and they were hot. They were good musicians. And we started like practicing and playing every single day.
Mm.
Sometimes we would rehearse 3-4 times a day. All we did back then was just head to the beach and laid around on the beach, come back to a practice hall that we had and practice and studied and became to be really good at what they were doing. Everybody in the group, in the band.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. So I've read your bio thoroughly and I've heard of all the bands that you used to open up with and play
Hmm.
with, and I don't know any of them, but we're going to let the listeners know a couple of their names. So you've opened up with like the Barcades, Parliament, David Ruffin, The Moment, The Shy Lights, Cameo, Tower of Power, Ohio Players, and the list goes on,
List goes on.
Santana, all of that. So my question to you is, what influence would you say those past artists have on today's generation of artists or today's music?
Well, the music that they were doing to me back then was real music. I mean,
Hmm.
those were really talented musicians.
Hmm.
I mean, it was no samples, it was no computers. You had to really play back then.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think the music that they were doing back then was really highlighted. And today's rappers and artists and stuff, they're taking bites from the music that they used to do back then because it was so passionate music. And they're doing different things with it. I mean, and it's exciting too. It's very exciting to see the kids of today what they come up with the old style music. It's like old versus young. and they
Yeah.
come up with something totally different, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah. So after I read your bio, then I saw the name Santana. I was like, let me go look this man up. And when I looked him up, I realized that yes, he is still influential to today's artists. So he's played the guitar in Rihanna's Wild Thoughts.
Hmm.
And also with Tyga, his song Mamacita, he's in there as well, and a
Hmm.
Lauryn Hill song as well. So I see how that influence plays a factor, and that's really cool. That's really cool. So I would say, when was the climax of your musical career?
The climax of the music career for me, I don't think I really hit it yet, but
Okay.
what I have done was probably with playing with the band that I worked with, Fever, which was out of the Bay Area. They originally were from Cleveland,
Okay.
and I worked for the airlines, and those guys used to work for the airlines too. We were skycaps, and they came to me. They knew I played percussion, and told me that they were putting a band together, and that they needed a percussionist for it. And this was entering a new world for me, the world of recording, because I had been doing all live stuff up until that point. And once I started to record with them, we did a song, a demo that they were sending into Fantasy Records, a song by Four Tops, "Standing in the Shadows of Love."
Okay.
And we did it, and I did percussion on it, and they loved the percussion a lot. They ran it 2 times in the song, and they sent it into as a demo to Fantasy Records, and Fantasy Records loved it. Man, they contacted them within a couple of days and told them that they definitely had a deal with their company. They wanted to know if they could get the demo and get it into the stores immediately, and they did, and it sold well. And that was the beginning of the career for Fever.
Mm, right. And then tell us about that album, that great album that made the #1 Billboard charts.
The first album that we
Yeah.
did for Fantasy Records, Fever,
Mhm.
was titled Fever,
Okay.
and it had a song on it called "Pump It Up."
Okay.
And "Pump It Up" was it was a disco song, but it had a real intense beat. That album was a non-stop disco album where you could play it on one side and then turn the other side, and from the first song it would go straight through to another song on all the way till the whole album was played out.
Mhm.
And the songs that was big off of it was "Pump It Up," "Beat of the Night," and in Europe they played a song that they did called the "Fever Rock" that did really well over there. But it was disco back there, intense percussion on it. You know what I'm saying? And it was just something to really start your recording off of, getting a chance to do a bunch of work on an album.
Right. And I know you're being modest, but it beat out Michael Jackson's song and one of the Prince songs too, right?
Yeah, on
That album.
the top 100,
Mhm.
Billboard Top 100, Fever was number one out of 100 albums. I think number 12 was Michael Jackson's Off the Wall album.
Mhm.
About 32 somewhere in there was Prince, Little Red Corvette, and a lot of other artists. Actually, Santana was behind that on there
Oh
too.
wow.
A
Wow,
lot of
wow,
lot
wow.
of different people. Cool in the Game, all of them fell up under that top 100 at the
Okay.
time.
So were you playing those cool instruments like the Cuiba drums back then, the spring drums, the whistles? Were you playing those type of instruments when you were with the Fever band and the bands before then?
I've
So
I've been doing those instruments all of the time. When I first started playing percussion, the only band that I knew that really was doing percussion was Santana. But they had like one guy playing congas, one playing bongos, another guy playing timbales. And as I was studying with my professor studying percussion, I used to tell him that I wanted to have a setup with
mm,
my congas and timbales and everything where that I could get from one instrument to the other. And he used to tell me back then, man, that's gonna be crazy. That's unheard of. But today you see that a lot percussionists they use those setups like that. So I was like one of the first guys back then that was actually doing setups like that.
oh
And
nice.
and I just took it to a whole nother level. I was studying things from Earth, Wind, and Fire, kalimbas, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would see Maurice White doing kalimbas, and I would play that instrument, but I wanted to do more, so I started electrifying it, running it through pedals and phase shifters and echoplexes and stuff, making it like a synthesizer kalimba. And that's how I've been through the time of doing music. I would take effects and put it into the music so that I could get a different perception with the percussion that anyone else can ever do.
So tell us, what type of energy do those different instruments bring to the music, or what kind of songs in particular do you want to highlight that you use some of those cool instruments and you can tell that it like made the song just out of this world?
The songs that I write, I use a lot of it.
Okay.
You know, all of the stuff that I do have percussion on it. We put it. What it does, it takes a song and takes it to a whole nother level. You're gonna be able to have the intense beats and the intense effects that you are not gonna really be able to do with computers. It's gonna be done live. Can you imagine rappers on stage rapping with a percussionist right there on stage with them, doing the hard beats behind